Welcome back to the cave. You have to excuse the mess of me. We're having a big shuffle around in here, and it leads me on to a point that not many people talk about, so I thought I'd have a quick chat. Breeding geckos. Now, the easy part of breeding geckos is putting a male and female together and getting eggs. The hard part of breeding geckos is then shifting said geckos once you've got them, and most of us, or me, and I'm assuming most other breeders, are working on projects, right? So we've got this goal in our head and we breed to get to that goal. And that, like the ethics behind that is I'm not going to just breed all my females to produce babies, because then I have the hassle of them pushing those babies on. I guess if you're financially minded, then you'll be working differently. So this year I'm only breeding half my females. However, what not many people talk about is the geckos that you're left with. Okay, so currently, and I'll count this now while you're here, 14 geckos that are currently listed on Morph Market. Okay, and that's fine. I don't have an issue sitting on them. I've got another 20 along here that I'm growing out to work into my projects. But what nobody really talks about is the care of those, like the care of the babies you produce is your inherent responsibility. So you can't just breed these geckos and then be like, oh, stick them in tubs, stick them on the shelf. That doesn't really work. And you've seen my setups, and I raise them in the shoe boxes. Well, it's got to the point now where some of these geckos are too big for those shoe boxes. And I do have plans in here, and I've talked about it very briefly, that I want to build another rack of vivs at the front of the cave. And that will then house my breeders, potentially the chihuahuas and the corn snakes when they get bigger. So the base will be a nice big viv for the corn snakes to go in with a divider. And then above that then will be 6, off the top of my head, 6 vivs for breeding groups of gargs and my chihuahuas. So that's in the works, but it's not there yet. So what we and I've spoke about it before, that I've got housing to accommodate all of these geckos throughout their life. Okay. But what that means is I have shoe boxes, and I've got spare shoe boxes should I need to, and I produce more than the current shoe boxes can handle. I can just go to a shelf, pull off another block of 30 and build them up and stick them on the side. But then I've got progressional moves for those. So then from there, they can go into the bigger vivs, or they can go into the boxes that I've got, or tubs that I've got. And because I heat the cellar, the heating and the care is the same. But it's having that ability to do that and not leave it just to, I have to go out and buy this now. Because if you don't sell those 200 geckos that you produce, you have to house 200 geckos. So what I'm saying is, you have to have then the space to house those 200 geckos. I do not cohabit any of my geckos except the breeders and the chihuahuas. Right, the chihuahuas are in groups. Pine Islands are in a pair, mainlands are in a group, and that's because they came to me as a group. But the gargoyles, I do not long term keep anything paired off. So my males rotate through the females, and then they have accommodation for themselves, so I can give them some time out, get some food on them, because when males are with females, they're not thinking about food. And then the rest of the geckos all need space then to grow. So right now we're in the middle of a shuffle, and I'm shuffling some stuff about, pulled some tubs out of storage, cleaned them up, set them up, and now I'm moving some of these geckos around. I mean, some of these geckos I've got for sale will be breeders next year, so they're already adult size, and they're in various vivs around the place. So now they're all getting upgraded, so everything's getting upgraded, so there's a flow through the cellar. But I guess my point is, like, if you're going to enter into this and you want to get into breeding properly, then think about the ethics of it, and that sometimes things don't sell. my projects I work on are not high red gargoyles, so people don't want to buy them. And that's absolutely fine with me because I love my yellow gargoyles and they will get worked back into the projects. But I have to be able to accommodate for them. Nothing is on a different feeding regime. Nothing is on a different care regime. Everything gets taken care of exactly the same. My geckos, my breeders, the ones I've bred that I'm holding back, the ones I've bought in are on exactly the same care routine as the ones that are for sale. And that's my responsibility, and I take that responsibility on. And I also take on the responsibility of any geckos I produce this year, entering into that cycle and being here for another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So there's a lot more involved in that. And today I've been on this now for, it's 12:30, so I've been on this now for 4 hours, just cleaning tubs, setting tubs up, getting them ready, live feeding as I move, spraying, egg hunting, all those day-to-day chores. And I've probably got another 2 to 3 hours in this. So having the time to put into breeding geckos as well. So I guess they're just my main points, and that's what I wanted to cover, is just be mindful of producing geckos and then not taking care of the babies because they're going to sell isn't always the case. Be prepared for every gecko you produce, you raising right the way through to adulthood and potentially for the rest of its life. That's where we should be as breeders. That should be where we're at. The fact that some of those get sold along the way and clear up space should be secondary. So caring for everything you create or you produce, everything that you set out to do mindfully, you should also mindfully be prepared to look after every one of those animals through to adulthood and beyond. Anyway, that's enough of my rant. I'm going to get back to it. Catch you later.